Everybody, round of applause, why not? Oh, what a start. Love it. Okay, guys, so we're here at SpeakuP Monday, here at Tropical Nomad, every Monday. So 6 p.m., come for pre-networking. 6:28, we go live. And tonight, as you know, SpeakuP Monday is number one for entrepreneurs and social impact. It's called Destination Indonesia. So for the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to be featuring projects and the people behind those projects, which are having a really strong, powerful, positive impact on the people of Indonesia and foreigners alike. So as you probably know, if you don't know me by now, I'm super passionate, driven, and committed to creating opportunities where we can knowledge share, where Indonesia, people of Indonesia, and foreigners can come together and create projects which not only uplift humanity, but co-elevate and knowledge share. So we're getting all this cultural mixing, understanding, which gives us this beautiful thing called empathy. Right, that's that bit. Now this week, we have my brother here, Wayne A. Thompson, which we're going to get to very shortly. Next week, just to give you a quick heads up, we have Harold and somebody's team, of which I am part, which is, it's called All Solar World. All Solar World are basically bringing via solar, giving light and Wi-Fi, so internet plus internet, or should I say payment gateway, right? So this is a huge thing which will impact the people of Indonesia in a very and the world in a very powerful, positive way, because you're bringing internet payment gateway to places in the world which have never seen that. Education, recreation, banking is phenomenal. That will be next week. So, deep breath. This week is my brother Wayne. Now, we met about 2, 3, 4 years ago, and Wayne originally hails from the US, Silicon Valley background, and he's created 2 projects here in Indonesia which touch upon those things that I love, which I won't repeat because you heard it the first time, right? And so the first one is called the Funding. So the Funding is Indonesia's largest, how would you describe it, Wayne? Largest startup entrepreneurs.
Keep going.
Keep going? Good. Good. It's the largest reality TV show which is focusing on entrepreneurs and investment, right? That's called the Funding. The next one is called Buyer Mia. Now, Buyer Mia is the largest, what I call the largest marketplace. So imagine like a Alibaba, right? But for Indonesia, because as you may know from the show, Indonesia has the largest population density of artisans in the world. Right? So that's artisans which are creating raw materials and finished goods or unfinished goods which need to get to the international market to get fair prices and so on. So here in Indonesia, just like anywhere else around the world, you have the middle person, and the middle person isn't always doing the right thing, let's be honest. This is a global thing, not just here in Indonesia. So a wonderful project like Buyer Mia, so Buyer Mia, check it out, buyermia.com. What it does is it bridges the gap, it disrupts the space. So for the first time, you have raw material providers, manufacturers, artisans that can go direct to international market without needing a middle person. It's a huge market and a very important development, which again have come from the same person. So Wayne A. Thompson, welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So look, maybe just to start us off, right? So people may have heard of the Funding. Those here in Indonesia who know about the small to medium-sized enterprises would definitely know the Funding. I was a judge on one of the episodes, which I thoroughly enjoyed, a bit like Shark Tank, right? It was amazing, right? During COVID, it was a time where most places around the world, including Bali, were suffering, right? Because they weren't able to do what they're usually doing. So probably my first question to you then would be, you obviously have a tech background that we'll get into, and you have a huge heart, right? Because to do these sorts of projects, you need someone who's got heart and soul and spirit, right? So if I said to you, now, like where does, if it's true what I'm saying, and I know it is because I know you, where does that heart come from?
Well, first, I want to thank you for having me, and I also want to thank you guys for showing up. And it means a lot to me for you guys to be here. That's one. So I want to get that out the way. So thank you so much for having me use this platform and this medium that you've built to just kind of showcase a little bit about what myself and my team is doing. So I couldn't have done it and got to this point without the wonderful team behind me. In fact, my manager, Arrow, is here, and my lead tech guy is here, Faisal. And a couple of my team members, they're here also, so gratitude to them. Well, I think it all started in my humble beginnings. I grew up with my grandparents, and my grandma always lead with gratitude. In fact, her preaching was that gratitude is kind of like one of the highest level of consciousness. So you cannot pretend or be kind or say you're showing gratitude without being kind. So for me, it just kind of came naturally. So when I saw the plight of the Indonesian people after COVID hit, it was only natural for me to just kind of step up and do my part. And the funding was born, and from that, Biomia was born, and yeah, that's it.
Like one thing which I've noticed about my brother Wayne here is that he, some people like oversell themselves, right? Who knows a person who oversells themselves? Put your hands up. Be honest, people. Who knows a person who oversells themselves? Put your hand up. Should be everybody, right? So, but then you have people which are very humble, but do so much, but don't really talk about it. This is one of those people, right? Just so if you weren't clear about that, you're clear now. So here's the thing. So writing the code for Biomia, the development of it, I mean, how much work does it usually take, and how long did it take you and the team to make it happen?
Okay, so it's actually a very, very big project. And I mean, it's a marketplace. And if you guys are familiar with, for instance, Alibaba or a Tokopedia or an Amazon, it takes years to develop. And we are still in the development stage, but we have a very, very good team behind us. And there was a sense of urgency, and so I really got annoying to them because, I pushed them a lot. So, it took a little while to develop, but finally we can launch now, but and it's on the web now, but we're working on some additional technologies and some features, and then we'll roll out accordingly. So it took a little while, and it's still going, but overall, it took a while. Yeah.
And I remember you told me a story about it was ice cream, I think it was, right? Bringing it into the first time for that state in the U.S. And what I remember from the story was that it was a sense of determination, a sense of not taking no, of just dogged authenticity, right? Maybe you could share part of that story with the guys here, and then I've got a follow-up question afterwards.
So he's talking about Coldstone, and if you guys are ice cream lovers, Coldstone started in Scottsdale, Arizona, and at the time when they began, they had no plans of rolling out in different states. And I flew to Scottsdale on vacation, and I saw the concept, and I thought it would be a very interesting concept to take to New York State. Now the problem is, they had no plans of going across the borders into New York. And I started making several phone calls to the corporate office, and all of it, no. No. And I did that straight for about a month. And finally, they told me, please do not call here anymore. We explained to you that we are not doing that. And so next step, I jumped on a plane. I think it was Thursday evening or something like that. I jumped on a plane. And Friday morning, I was there at the office. And the young lady asked me if I had an interview, and I said no, I'm just here to see Bart Dunn. That was his name. And she called his office, and I could hear them mumbling back and forth, like, what is he doing here? Anyway, he came downstairs, he saw me, and he said, well, I thought you were in New York. And I said, I was. I flew to get here. Anyway, I got to his office, and I just explained to him, I want this franchise, and I think it will do well in New York. I found the place. And he said, how could you find the place? We determine where you put this stuff. And I told him I counted the cars going this way in the morning and this way coming back in the evening. And it was like how many thousands of cars going. And he was so impressed. So he called the team and he asked them. He said, tell them what you just told me. I did that, and they said, well, a guy like you is someone that we want in our system. So the long and short of it is that I really don't see obstacles because, consciously we create those things for ourselves. And I'm not one to kind of conform, even though that might be the status quo. So if I really, truly want to do something and it's doable, as long as it's within the confines of the law, I'm going to do it, period.
And the title of tonight is about that, right? It's about the status quo and not accepting how it is, but you make it happen, right? So then, they've heard now of this kind of dogged determination that you have. Where does it come from, though? Like, if I asked you, where does that mindset, heart set, like that internal sense of I am going to make this happen, like, where does it come from, do you think?
Well, I think a part of it is compound interest, right? If you push through different barriers after a period of time, then it just becomes normal. And so, for instance, what other people consider work, for me, it's play. It's, like building these companies and stuff like that. It's just play to me. So I can pretty much work from morning till night, and, I'm good with that. But I think also growing up and seeing how my grandparents just worked. They just created opportunities for themselves. They didn't really rely on other people to do it for them, and so after growing up with them, it's like I recognize that this is the way. And through all my experiences, actually even doing Coldstone, it wasn't even that part of it that was the hardest. The hardest part of it was when they told me the franchise fee, which I didn't have, and then when they told me apart from that, I need $300,000 to build out the location, which I also didn't have. And after, I think it was 22 different banks, and then when I finished, I started re-upping, like going back to number one. And when I got, I think, to number two, I explained to the lady, Miss Weber, I said, I called 22 different banks, I submitted packages, and she said, hold on a minute, run that by me again. I said 22 different banks, and she said, do you have some of the names? I gave it to her, and apparently she called, and she said, wow, that's beautiful, so we'll find a way to give you that loan. And so it just stems from, my grandparents having obstacles, didn't see it as such, and they just go in and make things happen. So it was the same for me, so it comes natural.
So then if people hear, right, so we've got a few people here. By the way, can everybody hear in the back as well? Yeah, you can hear? Great, thank you. There's probably people here on the startup journey. I look at maybe 8 people here who I know are on the startup journey, right? And they're at different stages in their projects, right? So if you had to kind of nail it down to qualities, right? So qualities, which maybe if you got 3 of them, which 3 qualities do you think are required to have this kind of level of success ongoingly?
So first one would be faith. Faith and fear cannot reside in the same circle. So if you're very fearful, sometimes that can cripple you, and you really, and fear is good to a certain extent because it can provoke things in you that you can guard against. For instance, you'll do your homework because you're in fear of maybe losing your capital. But faith, you have to be super passionate, and I think the next one. Get a good team. But I also will add a bonus to that. I think reading is very, very important. I think that in order for one to succeed in an ever-changing world, you have to be able to keep up with what's actually going on. So it's not to say that you're following trends, but if you read enough and diversify your reading, then you can pick up nuggets like, okay, well, this company or these 5 companies are spending money here. The industries are leaning towards here. Therefore, if I create something in that space, then the upside for me will be a little better, And you also will discover that there's certain industries that's going the opposite direction. So I would say those things.
So if someone asked you, right, faith, I get, I got to believe, right? But what is the root of your faith? And, how do you think that can be cultivated by other people?
Well, the root comes from just believing, right? I mean, you have to believe in self. And when you take on that belief, you have to have a certain level of attachment to your core beliefs. So that's where that comes from. But I also think that it takes a community in order to achieve something, because you can never do it all alone. As I said, I commend my team. I commend people like yourself that I reach out to for advice periodically, and collectively, it does help. So that's what I would say.
And look, just maybe the last question in this area that's coming up right now is that, 'cause again, I know these things, these guys don't, and I'd love them to know it, because how it impacts me when we speak about it is profound, right? And I'd love them to have a similar, or however it presents itself for them. Now, you spend a lot of time alone, man. Tell us a little bit of why you do that and how you do that, and what results or fruits come as a result of it.
So I think, of course, we live in a very social environment, right? And I'm a little bit introverted, but I also think that, you can have genius ideas in solitude. I think that we are a little bit oversaturated when it comes to information, and sometimes it's hard to differentiate what's synthetic versus what's real. And sometimes that place of solitude gives you the time to read, indulge in all the moving parts that's going on around you, and take a wholesome view, and then come out with real answers, because it's well thought through. You weren't distracted, and I think that's what solitude does for me. I love it, actually, spending time alone with my brain, and reading, and then just kind of putting things down and kind of mapping out what goes where and where goes what. I think that's an intricate part of my success. Yeah.
And look, Brother Ichi or Guzman, I'll get someone to take some photos, maybe Sister G, and then just remember when Wayne's talking, just to turn that microphone up a little bit if possible. So, right, so I think people have got an idea, right, of the way that you approach this, the way that you approach life. You're a deep thinker, right? You're a person who is not out there a lot, right? You're a person who knows his roots, right? And knows that his roots give him his fruits. You're close to your family, and you know, I know that you put a lot of your success, you know, towards, you know, your grandparents, your mother, and so on, right? So I get all of that. And I get, you know, that your heart is huge, right? Who gets that this man has a huge heart? Yeah. I know him and I still feel it, right? You know, it was interesting because you mentioned about reading, and another brother, my brother Oki Sobajo, who's sitting there in the front next to another brother, Wolfgang. Remember, like, we've just done this, I'm giving you a little bit of time to break, my brother. We recently, there was a blockchain conference here. So it was a Bali blockchain ecosystem conference 2022, powered by Faverse. And it's about Silicon Valley, right? So he but he worked in Silicon Valley, that we'll get into in a minute. And so Silicon Valley is this understanding that Bali and Indonesia hold a perfect container to create Silicon Valley. And the reason why I brought up Oki is that, apart from being a beautiful man, he reminded me of this book, right? It's a Regional Advantage that was written in 1975. And this book goes into the three key elements that you need to have in place to create any thriving ecosystem. And these things that I'm about to mention need to be in close proximity to each other, right? So one is an availability of capital. No brainer, right? Number two, or in no particular order, is talent, a pool of talent. And then number three, projects. So those three things, capital, talent, and projects in close proximity to create the opportunity to create a thriving ecosystem. And then I went into that conference why Indonesia and why Bali is so incredibly well suited to do that, to play that role. But Wayne, bring you back into this, my brother. You know, if I would ask you, to comment, we're not necessarily talking about blockchain now, but if I talk about Indonesia and your experiences here, or Bali, because we're here right now, so you can answer on whichever level you like. So when I say availability of talent, availability of capital, and availability of projects, how do you think, or how would you describe the environment here in the industry that you are in, for example?
Okay, so I'll just say this. Indonesia is ripe for technological advancement for different type of businesses. In fact, I think Bain Capital and Google, they do their yearly economy study, and they found that it was Indonesia and Vietnam which offer the most potential for investment and for companies and for growth, fintech space, e-commerce space, and a lot of different sectors. So Indonesia is ripe for this. Talent-wise, I find that in Bali itself, it's hospitality industry basically that leads here in Bali. So it's very hard to source, for instance, tech talent. So you have to go on the grind when it comes to trying to recruit talent, whether you're trying to recruit them internationally or whether you're trying to recruit them from Jakarta. You would want to do that. And third, can you remind me again?
Yeah, so you've got talent, capital, and projects.
Okay. Capital, so I haven't kind of ventured out yet to raise capital. We're in the process of doing so. I funded everything myself, and it was a pretty interesting journey with that. So I kind of didn't rely on raise. I just kind of went all in and did what I had to do. So, yeah.
Got it, brother. All in. So in about 10 minutes or so, we'll have some questions, right? So the third microphone. In about 10 minutes, brother Guzman, we'll get out there. But I mean, okay. So there's a few things. So there's a few people, I'm looking at, I keep mentioning his name, Oki, God, you should be up here, mate. But there's a few of us here. So my name's Robert Ian Bonnick, I didn't say that before, tourism architect. So what is it that I do? So I curate business solutions for tourism boards and significant businesses in or moving to Bali. And you know, so what's happened with SpeakuP Monday, there's 300 episodes or so, and we've interviewed some of the top people here in Indonesia in all different areas. So I'm in all different industries, so I have a really good feel and understanding for what's happening. In terms of those three things, capital, talent, and projects. But if I would ask you, Wayne, right, so the future of Indonesia, right? Because now Buyamia, by the way, Buyamia is BuyAMIA.com. You can check it out right now, Buyamia.com. So the future of Indonesia, like, what kind of future would you like to see here?
Well, I think different areas around the world mimic each other, right? So if you look at all the industries that's actually striving right now, it's in the medtech space, it's in the fintech space, it's in the e-com space, and those are kind of like the top, and also convenience. I think we live in a world where cross-border commerce will be just like ordering something from down the street, basically. And I think with fintech, I mean, you can see it with blockchain technology. You know, I personally feel like about 95% of the startups that's in, when it comes to, for instance, crypto, they're going to go to zero. I think that the 5%, those are ones that build utilities that is going to have us using those utilities. The rest, some of them are just so gimmicky. But a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon and they invested and stuff like that. But I think for Indonesia, all those things that's permeating across the West and stuff like that will eventually get here because we're interconnected. So all someone has to do is just kind of look across borders and see what's already been tested, proven, and doing pretty well, and then try to do that here because people are people, right? You know, we would want to just kind of utilize the knowledge of or the experience of other people that has spent the money on R&D and did it and made it work, and then kind of bring it here. So.
Got it, my brother. You know, for those of you here in Indonesia, so those you watching either online or on replay when the time comes. So one of the wonderful things that we both enjoy, being foreigners, being guests here in Indonesia. You know, Indonesia is what number 4 economy within 5 to 10 years, the 4th largest economy in the world. Right now, 5% growth this year, 5.2 predicted for next year. Output is greater than COVID already. One of the highest numbers of population under the age of 35, which are consumers of technology. There's a massive one there, right? Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, the motto of the country, which underpins everything, is unity and diversity, which to me is a very expansive, all-encompassing, beautiful way to look at the world, right? Because right now, what does the world need? It needs unity and diversity. It needs people to come together, leverage, co-knowledge, co-elevate, collaborate to make great things happen, right? And then with Bali, I'm completely obsessed with Trihita Kanana, which I've explained many, many times. If people don't know what it is, go check it out. It's phenomenal, and I see it as being a way, and me and Oki talk about this a bit actually. Bali, Indonesia, both, the culture, the understanding, the philosophy is one which can create like a model that the world can actually adopt. Really, and I mean that with every bone in my body, right? It really is powerful. And when you look at Trihita Kanana, which is, you know, the relationship, how to find prosperity, you know, how to harmonize between, you know, your project, initiative, it might be whatever business, right? It can be like, okay, so now I'm going to explain it again. Damn it, I didn't want to do it, but I will. So Trihita Kanana, right? So imagine a triangle. the way which I love to look at it is the project, initiative, business I'm about to do. How does it impact X? X I'm about to tell you about. So, number one, top of the triangle. So how does my project, initiative, business affect the relationship of human to God? Culture, customs, traditions, of which we have many in Bali, right? Slide down over here. So how does my project, initiative, business, how does it impact man to environment, sustainability, regenerative systems and policies and practices which look after that aspect? And the final one is, so human to human, how does it impact prosperity? And the easy way to look at this is saying, well, how does it make money? All right? Some people get all caught up like, we've got to do good for the planet. We can't make money as well. No, you can. You can do both. So if you observe this Tri Hita Karana, it is an incredible model for sustainable, conscious business. And it goes to health. It's so universal. Like each time I talk about it, I get another idea about how it can be adopted. But it really is super powerful within the container of Pancasila, which is the 5 grounding or guidelines for the Indonesia's constitution. Pancasila, another one if you're a foreigner here to check out. Because if you're going to be here, check out what makes here tick, what underpins, what is the container. Because if you can work with that container, then you'll flourish. So this is why I'm bringing this up repeatedly, because again, by repetition, we remember things, right? So, I'll take a breath. Now, so Brother Guzman, if we can have the microphone ready, because we're gonna go to these people and make sure we got some photos as well as footage, my brother. That would be great. So maybe my last question before we move forward. So you had some time in Silicon Valley, right? Working on projects there. Could you perhaps detail just maybe a couple of your past successes that might be interesting for people to hear now before we go to questions?
Yes, so of course I told you guys about Coldstone, but right after Coldstone, I grew that to about 13 different locations, and then I sold them all. I walked away, I was burned out, but it was short-lived because I think within 6 months I purchased a Paving Company, which is construction, and what I did was I made that green, so more sustainable. And then I reached out to the state of Georgia, and I started operating there. In 2009, 2010, the recession hit, and I mean, that company got obliterated. So I had to stop, take a look back. And here's why reading is important, because I got into an industry that I knew nothing about. I just looked at the P&L, I saw that it was making money, and I thought, okay, I ran a business before, so what the heck, I can do this one too. My mom asked me, wait a minute, you got straight from cold to hot, because if anyone knows about paving and being out there, it is very, very grueling and very hot sometimes, especially in the summertime, because now you're dealing with asphalt. Anyway, I lost a lot of money on that deal, so I paid a heavy price for not knowing the industry that I was going into. And actually, to be a little personal, I got into a stage of depression for about 9 months. And I think that was stemmed from the fact that I really put my self-worth into how much money I made. And that was a huge mistake. So once I lost the money, then it's like I lost a sense of self. And I did not know how to navigate around the emotions that I was feeling. I felt like I let my team down, I let myself down, I let my family down, and therefore, I had all that bottled up inside of me. But I got past it thanks to friends of mine that stepped in and really kind of talked me through that. And then from there, I just got with two of my college buddies, and at the time, there was no such thing as sourcing alternative to tourism, to tourist sites. So if you would travel to New York, it would be like, okay, Empire State Building, the World Trade Center, go here, 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 and that information was given by the tourist board, pretty much. So we decided to put a spin on that because that wasn't like New York. So, we decided to showcase, the mom and pops and the small wineries that's off, out of the city and stuff like that. And we built a platform, and long story short, we got an offer that we couldn't refuse, and that was it. We kind of stepped away from that, exited, and this is kind of the first time I'm getting kind of back into the entrepreneurship journey. So. Well, by the way, I lost a couple friends along this journey too, so I want to elaborate on that too, because when you pick up a cause that's greater than oneself, you are going to leave people behind. Not so much that you want to, it's just a byproduct of being overly determined and fighting for your purpose. And so I lost friends. I had a friend of mine that literally, I've known him for about 20 years, and when I told him what I was doing, he said, okay, so you want to tell me that you left the States where in our, say for instance, black community, we need help, and you got to Indonesia and you decide to spend your money in Indonesia and stuff like that. And my argument to him was, well, people are people, and what does it look like if I only kind of try to look out for someone that's my skin color? So those are a couple of the nuances and the variables that comes with trying to build something or trying to do something that's greater than oneself. So, if I may caution some of you entrepreneurs that's in here, is just be bold and don't get deterred by anything or anyone for that matter, because if they love you and they believe in you, then they will, give you the space to strive. And and I think more than anything else, what I do enjoy is the journey. My other companies, I was worried about the bottom line. Now I try to really have fun with, the day-to-day, and that's very empowering because it's all about the journey, right? I mean, you can have all the money in the world, but what you're gonna do, you're not gonna have gold burgers and stuff like that. You're still going to go to your local spot that you enjoy and enjoy it with your true core friends and stuff like that. So that's it.
Love that, brother. My man. Love that. Ma. There you go. Yeah. My brother. All right, so questions. Maybe just raise your hand if you have a question. Carol, you're up. Thank you very much. You remember, guys and girls, or ladies and gentlemen, so questions, right? You'd be maybe in three places, like, I couldn't possibly answer that question, is so dumb. That's one place. Number two is that I really want to, but I know I shouldn't because maybe I've spoken about it already. Or number three could be, I want to ask that question, I'm going to answer it, or even ask it. Wherever you are, remember, if you're at number two or number one, which is like you're too scared, number two and three, if you have a question, ask it not for yourself, but for other people. We're right here now, we have one container, one group energy, so we are thinking of the same question, right? Many of us here are thinking about the same question. So ask your question, you're doing someone else a big favor, all right? Remember that, put your hands up afterwards. Sister Carol, over you.
Hi.
Hello.
Is that working?
You're on.
I'm on? Okay. I would like to go back to the words that you mentioned your mother told you about hot and about cold. And I'd love to know what brings a lot of heat and makes your heart vibrate. And in the opposite direction, what brings ice into your heart, and what do you get mostly really upset about?
There you go.
That's an interesting question. Thank you so much. Okay, so I lead with empathy. I think that's because it's all humans. We are all humans, and when it comes to economy, it's very simple. It's how do I get his money into my pocket? That's all it is. So in between that is, are you doing something that's going to be beneficial for him or for his family or his friends and stuff like that? So I lead with empathy. I don't really get upset that easily, especially now that I've moved to Bali. Bali has taught me calm, peace, and it's powerful when you can operate from a place of tranquility. So, but I think what gets me perturbed is pattern thieves, and I say that I will elaborate a little bit. Is that too many people conform and stay that way because it's comfortable, and they don't realize that they're actually living a synthetic life and it bears little fruit. So my thing is, why not just spread your wings, create something new, create something different, or live according to your own perspective. And I think too often our perspective that we carry, if you look deeply in it, you can find a lot of people around that kind of have similar perspective, and so they behave accordingly. I have nothing against social media, but if people that hang out on social media, not using it as a tool, hear that this one is better, then they're quick to jump off this one onto that one, and it's just like a spiraling thing. So that's what kind of gets me perturbed. But I know not to get upset over that thing, because I was there at one point, and it was just reading, listening, going through different experiences that got me to where I am right now. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Great question, Carl, which I knew you always will ask great questions. It's just how it is. Thank you. So does anyone else have a question? Raise your hand. Don't be shy, people. Let's do this. Rafi, I know you've got a question. Oki, I know you have a question. I just know. So if you want to ask it, feel free. If not, Brother Wolf. Yeah, Rafi. Okay, good. Don't know how I know, but I know. There you go, Rafi. Over you, man.
Thank you very much for your speech, and thank you for coming to talk to us about what you did and your history. And I really vibrate on your empathy also, because it's very important for what we are trying with my partners to develop in Bali and for Indonesia. So my question will be very simple. What brings you now in order of new projects that you want to develop and invest in? What are you looking for now?
I think the cause need to tie deeply with the founder itself, because each business is an extension of oneself. So if you're empathetic, if you're kind, if you're loving, you are going to create something, not harming other people. So as long as that ties into what you're doing, and you want to really change, the status quo, that's something that we look forward to either investing in or facilitating and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Brother Rafi. And look, question from me. So for those of you watching at home or here, so the funding is www, you know the story, the funding. So the-funding.com is one. Check it out. The other one is Buy Amia, which again is buyamia.com. So check those out. They're all on Instagram as well, by the way, for those of you on Instagram. Please feel free to check it out. Now, there, there's one question that comes into my head. I'm laughing, right, because it's a deep one, and I don't know if I should ask, which means I'm going to ask.
I'm ready.
You're ready, all right. But those who come, they know what I'm like, right? Let's do this. So, like, let's address the elephant in the room. We're two black men, right? Which is, I think there's another one here, and there's people of color everywhere, Brother Wolfgang. So, like, I think it would be remiss of me not to go into this just a little bit, because I think it's important, not because of the color of our skin, but what it stands for, being a human being of a particular persuasion and standing up for yourself and reaching the own conclusion that you have, that we're all part of this same amalgamous mass, though we do have some individuality that should also be followed and appreciated. So it will make sense in a minute, right? Everyone's going like, what the hell is he talking about? Don't worry, it'll be explained in a minute. So, Brother Wayne, this one is about when you realized that you needed to front your own business and not beat it by proxy. Is that something that you want to quickly give to people? Up to you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that, okay, so a little bit about my journey, especially when it came to my first endeavor, which is Coldstone. I think there's a stigma, wrongfully so, that comes with being black, yeah, especially in a certain environment. And some of them is like you only can make your money from being a rapper or a ball player or drugs or something like that. And of course that's been depicted in movies and all over social media and stuff like that. So it's not a blame game, but I remember it got a hold of me because I was trying to negotiate for a space for the first Coldstone, and I knew that I could not approach the owner, which is sad, but I could not approach the owner and let him know, okay, I want to rent the place. So I went to Long Island. I found a Jewish lawyer. I spoke with him, and before I could even finish my sentence, he understood exactly. And he said, okay, I will do it all for you. The only thing I ask is for you to listen to me. When I call you and tell you, come in the room, come, sign, turn, and walk out. That's what I did. He did all the paperwork. No one knew who I was. I walked in, I signed, I looked around a bit, and I bailed. And he said, after that, they were asking, well, who is he? And he said, oh, that's Mr. Thompson. But they already had signed all the documents. So, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, I had to do it. But, you know, after a period of time of being there, and it went well. So, you know, I kind of taught them a few things by just me taking the lead with not succumbing to the stigma that comes with the color of my skin. So when it came to this project, I didn't think twice about it because I did have the funds to do it, and I wanted to do it my way. I didn't want an investment firm or company to come in and say, okay, you need to do this. I've been here long enough, and I knew what I wanted to build. And I knew if I build it accordingly with all the knowledge that I have gained over the past years, then they will come. And this is exactly what's happening now, in the sense that I have to say, okay, we're not ready yet. You know, I'll get back to you, that kind of thing. So, but to tie into that, I think when you build something and you build it for other people, then success will come. If you decide that you're going to be so egotistic to build it for you and or build it for money, I mean, you increase your chances of failure. So, yeah.
My brother, I love that story. Goose pimples again. Even though I knew what was coming, still got goose pimples. I love that story because, you know, like at the age of, I grew up in 2 children's homes, orphanages for 18 years, from 6 months of age to 18 years of age in London. In my family tree that I found out 10 years ago, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, all Jamaican Maroons. So it was part of me before I even before the age of 12 years of age, I made a decision, right? Because something happened as a racist attack, and I had a choice to make afterwards, which was be part of the problem or be part of the solution. And I chose to be the solution. So ever since that time, my road has been very, very clear that I am a bridge bringing people, ideologies, projects together around initiatives that uplift humanity, that unite humanity, right? So why that story is so important, because I look at everyone here, I see unity and diversity like big time, right? I see beautiful women of different colors and shades. I see beautiful guys, some with hair, some like me, looking good without, right? I see, but all different colors of the rainbow, but we're all here in Bali, and we're all here, and Bali being part of Indonesia, and that's what makes here very special. Right? So the container that I spoke about before, Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, the Pancasila, Takwamasi, Trihita Kanana, this is really where it kind of comes from, and this is what I want everyone to know as often as I can say it without being so repetitive, but I have to. So Brother Wayne, man, I really appreciate you, my brother. I appreciate you for coming up here and sharing your message, and because being in this seat isn't necessarily an easy place to be, right? We don't rehearse this. We don't say, hey, I'm going to ask you this question at this point, and what's the answer? Script it out now so you know what it is. Oki's been here. Like, there's a lot of people who have been here before. Carol, you're going to be here soon. Like, so coming here without realizing what question's going to come next, without anything to prepare, can be pretty kind of scary for people. Because Rafi was there, that's right, with Bali Co-op. So listen, if there aren't any more questions, I would love, there is one question? Okay, let's get a question over here. Great. Thanks, Rafi, by the way.
So I guess what I would like to know is when you, a little bit inside of your history of how you found yourself in Indonesia, and at what point did you decide to put your roots down in Bali?
Okay, so, you know, I don't think there was a specific time that stood out like, okay, aha, this is a time. I just knew I got here. My sister was here for 11 years, and when I sold my company, she said, okay, well, you always wanted to travel the world, you can make Bali a base, and I came here, I was a bit arrogant, I was a bit narcissistic, and also I was just kind of running around, not really doing much, just getting up late and going to bed late and that kind of thing. And then being very impatient. So I would get to the restaurants and, you know, coming from New York, my food wasn't there within a couple of minutes. And then after a period of time, and she said, okay, Bali will handle you, because, you know, don't think that you're going to get here and just kind of have your way. It's, you know, it will. And that's if Bali doesn't kick you out first. So, yeah, so happily, Bali kept me, and through that time period, I've embraced Bali. I came to love it. I love the energy here, and it's just a place of tranquility. You know, I disappear sometimes into the hills, and I'm there for days at a time just by myself, and Bali has allotted me that. So I don't think there's a specific time frame where I'm like, okay, this is it, but for now in my heart, this is where I would like to be.
Love that, man. You know, I know Carol. Yeah, do it. Yeah, all right. So, Brother Guzman, give me some volume, brother. Wait, or we can do it without. Oh, yeah. 1 second. Yeah, just wait this one. All right, well, we'll get the microphone over there as well. Now, how many of the Buy Mia team here? So I see Brother Faisal. Who else? Yeah, you there as well? Good. All right. Oh, you know what I'm going to do next, don't you?
So, yeah, your story really resonates with me, with my situation right now, but I'm sure some of you maybe experienced that when you say that we tend to associate ourselves with just our self-worth, with how much money we have, right? And then when something hit you, happen, and you just go down, and then like you have, maybe you have nothing, but it's like, it's kind of like almost when it hits you up, and it's like kind of like you lose the sense of your self-worth. And what is your advice maybe for people who experience that? Or I know, like for me, I'm experiencing that right now, but I'm sure in our life we will experience that somehow, somewhere, like one day.
You know, Brother Guzman, I love the honesty of your question, right? This is your first time here, and it's the honesty of the question that allows this to be authentic, coming right back at you, right? And as I mentioned before, it's not only you, right? But you had the courage to ask the question. I'm sure there are other people here who feel the same, and people watching who will watch who feel the same, right? So Brother Man, would love you to answer that question. Yeah.
Sure. So I'm not going to pretend that it's easy. It's probably a place that's unfamiliar. And unfamiliarity is good because that's where you gain, insight and lessons. You learn a lot about grit. You'll actually learn a lot about you. And my thing is that don't quit on you, because it's easy to sabotage self when you're at that place. And one thing you don't want to do is look back at that period where you could actually use it as a learning experience and regret not digging yourself out of it. So I just say look at it as a lesson and just re-up. If it means taking some time away a little bit so you can hone in and see the bigger picture, take that time, because self comes first, and you have to nurture self in order to build something sustainable, right? Because if it got you sick, which is what happened to me, I went into depression for about 9 months. I came down, I think it was like 60 kilos or something crazy like that. And, just getting myself back up there, it was difficult, but one thing I do know, it's doable, it's achievable. You take the lessons from that, and it makes you better. And sometimes it's just sign to pivot. If you're in one industry or you're doing something, and sometimes the universe just kind of like shake things up a little bit and have you look at something else, and then you have to just pivot, and don't be afraid to do that.
One thing, thank you. Yeah, please. Yeah. So, one thing you mentioned about that stage of the 9 months of depression, and that your friends really supported you, right? So maybe there's people here who are friends, maybe they can see someone going through something, right? So what maybe one thing, or even two, that your friends did that really made an impact and a difference? Wait for this.
So I'm laughing because I'm just going to be frank. It was very different. Different friends did different things, but the one that's most impactful, I will headline it by saying McDonald's. And the reason why I said McDonald's is that I had a young lady, and she was working for me, and after everything crashed down, she kept calling. I wouldn't answer, because when you get depression, you don't want to see anyone. You don't want to talk to anyone. You don't want to shower. You don't want to do anything. And after calling and me not answering for a period of time, she finally decided to come to my house and bang on the door. And she came a few times and I didn't answer. And she came back and she said, I know you're in there. I could see you through a glass pane, pacing back and forth. Answer the door. I answered the door. She saw me and she's like, you smell bad. You look bad. I'll be right back. And she went to McDonald's. And this is the first time I knew McDonald's had like a big to-go bag or something, because I've never seen that before. And she bought apple pies and burgers and fries and all this. And she came back, I opened the door, and she just threw it in. And she said, eat and take a shower and get to the gym, because I knew I loved the gym. I like that. And I ate and ate. And I got so sick that night from this McDonald's. But she called me like the next day and she said, I paid for a gym membership for you and they're expecting you to come by and take your photo. So you better go over there so I don't lose my money. And I went there with a big coat because at that time I lost so much weight. And I signed up. I went 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time. And then I started to get my strength back up. I stayed away from McDonald's, but I did eat and was able to kind of get myself back out of it. So different friends offer different support, and that was her way of, caring for me enough to say, hey, listen, get yourself back on your feet. Other friends, they called and they supported me, through quotes and kind words and visits and stuff like that. But that for me was the most impactful. It was very simple, but very practical, and it helped me a lot. So yeah.
Lord have mercy. I'm laughing because I had, Guzman, is this microphone on? Yeah. I was laughing because I had no idea about any of this. That's what I mean. We just go on a magical mystery tour. The questions come through, not from, and we have fun, or wherever it takes us for an hour. So we're kind of reaching the close of this one. And so what that means is that we'll close off the camera soon. We'll get a word from you to exit in a minute. And then any 5 or 10 minutes of questions that perhaps you don't want to be on camera. And then after that, Wayne, you're free to go. But that means that people are going to ask you questions. Do not mob him, all right? He's a good guy. All right, he's going to go off and get some peace pretty soon. But we'll come at you in a second. But what I would love, Faisal, are you there? And also, one of the ladies from the team, she was just here.
Aro.
Would love to get her up. Yeah. So Faisal, yeah, come up. Yeah, come on. Don't be shy now. Let's go. So we'll walk up here, and you, brother Faisal, as well. Come on up. So as you realize, it's not scripted, right? So if you're on the show, be unexpected. Faisal, come over here, man. Come over, grab a seat. There you go, brother. Sit. Come in. Yes, you. Come in. All right,
Can I give her my seat or?
Yes. No, swap. All right. Sit. Good. All right. Great. Grab a seat. All right. So I want you to quickly introduce yourselves, right? And just quickly say how long you've known this guy and why you do what you do. All right. There you go.
So with Biomia, I work on the tech side, so I handle all the tech aspect of Biomia. Why I do what I do is that, from my experience working alongside with Wayne, so it's been an eye-opener experience for me. I admire his knowledge on things and how he can encounter every aspect, even if it's a good thing or bad thing, in a very calm mindset. That definitely helps in terms of it helps with every single thing. Yeah.
Thank you, my brother. And which role do you play?
Tech, yeah.
Tech. Lead tech. There you go. No, it doesn't go with goodness. Now keep it in your hand on it. It's you. Same question to you. So what brought you, what do you love about working with this beautiful man?
I love him. Yeah, he's very nice guy, Sanyo. So in here, I'm a business development for the Biomia right now. And then before, I was as a office manager for the funding at the time, and we know it before, right? And yeah, and then after that, we and Wayne doing something great, which is Bayamia. And then, you know, I like to go to somewhere to find a seller for Bayamia as well. And then I can see like we will help a lot of people in Bali, in Indonesia. We help them to, sell all the product from Indonesia internationally. It's a very great one.
Love that. All right, last question, I promise it. They're like, why am I up here? What are you doing, Wayne? You told me I was going to be on camera. Like, hey, expect the unexpected. All right, so last question. It is, what do you think, or why do you think that Bayamia can do wonders for Indonesia? Why? Like, what's the why behind Bayamia that inspires you every day to be there and to be doing it? All right. So we'll start off with this one. Let you think a little bit more. So, what is your why behind why you do this? And in other words, why Bayamia you believe is going to be doing it for a long time to come for a lot of people?
Why I think it's because of the good cause that we're actually doing. It's because that most vendors, they're able to build or make nice stuff, but they don't know how to actually sell it, especially online. Some people can't even use a laptop or a desktop, so that's where we come in, where we actually guide them throughout the whole journey, from the point where the buyer asks for the price to the point that the product's being shipped. Bayamia will always be there to make sure that it's kind of like giving you a holding hand to make sure that you're able to now sell your product overseas, despite knowing how to use technology for all. Something like that.
Love it. And you, my darling, maybe for Indonesia's perspective, it would be great to get yours. Yeah.
Yeah, as an Indonesian, do you know what? We have a lot of product actually, and then people in Indonesia, they have a lot of product, beautiful, but do you know, Bayamia give a hope for them, you know, because of we are struggling. All of them people are struggling right now. They don't know how to sell it. They don't know how to export or something, you know. But with Bayamia, and then I'm goosebumps right now. With the Bayamia, you know, we have a hope for that. You know, I'm so thankful for the Bayamia, and then I believe in this project. I really believe it.
Love it. Oh. All right. So we're going to wrap it very soon, right? Stay where you are, and we can answer a couple of questions without cameras. So Wayne, this question goes to you, and it's any closing comments that you would like people to know. It might be reiterating something that's been said already, or it might be something new that you think, hey, I think it's really important for people to actually know this one as well. I'll give you about a minute, right, to think about it. So if you can pass the mic to Wayne, my darling. Yeah, stay where you are. So everybody, so remember, next week we have All Solar World. Great team. We've got the founder, Brother Harold. We're going to have a team. Itchy is involved. I'm involved. So that's going to be interesting, interviewing ourselves. So make sure you look for that. Remember, it's another breakthrough, right? It's about how you can connect, businesses, micro businesses, people in remote areas to the world, which is phenomenal using solar tech. So that's next week. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you come in person. We've got a studio audience here. Round of applause for yourself, studio audience. Woo! It's a good audience this week, so much better than last week. I'm joking. Every week is good. All right, so look, we'll have some, remember actually SpeakuP Monday on Instagram, Facebook, follow us there. We have a WhatsApp group, which I think we've got a QR code rolling around somewhere. If you want to connect with anyone, just drop me a line. You'll find me at SpeakuP Monday. You'll find our past episodes on SpeakuP Monday on YouTube. So just look for SpeakuP Monday, you'll find us all there. I love my brother Itchy, Guzman, the crew here at Tropical Nomad. They're my brothers and my sisters, and yeah, we're in this for the long haul. This is really part of how do we build trusted networks in Bali and Indonesia for foreigners like ourselves, people of Indonesia, to come together, work together, co-elevate together, knowledge share together, and create projects that have a seriously powerful, positive impact on humanity. That's why we're here. This is the grand vision behind SpeakuP Monday, behind why we are doing what we do. So I'm really happy that you guys have been part of it this week. Thank you so much, everybody. I see many faces, many new faces too, but we're here every Monday. Come at 6 o'clock. Bit of pre-networking, and then 6:30 we go live, right? So, Brother Wayne, any last words? Then we'll go to private questions.
Sure. My parting words would be just lean into your passion. Never be afraid to go against the grain. And, you know, I will also say this, that it's very, very good to know self. Because if you do not go through this life with your own identity, you will end up driving what you don't want to drive, living where you don't want to live, and eating pretty much what you don't want to eat because you kind of gotten swayed by the movements of others. So my passion, I always tell people, is curiosity, and be curious and just, you know, go after whatever you want in this life without apologies, as long as it's the right thing there. But yeah, that's my parting words.
Round of applause, everybody. Thank you very much indeed. Woo-hoo. Stay where you are. We're going to cut the cameras. Woo-hoo. All right, you hold that one.